Welcome back to VCT Americas, a second bout of the day. Map 1 already in the books, and let's be honest, there's no other word to use than pure dominance out of Leviatán there over MiBR to kick things off.
My conclusions after map number 1 are that I think Leviatán's a pretty good team on Pearl.
Yeah,
They're solid.
They looked really solid, especially considering, like I said, Taco didn't have a great game. That was like a breakout performance by Shy. I thought Shy had a great game.
Right, which was actually one of the members that kind of went unmentioned by us in the pregame, right? We seemed to touch all of the other players, and there you have it, the fifth stepping up in a big way to make it happen. And I think goes back to the point, right, of them being so incredible on Pearl, and now what we're kind of left wondering is, can they find that same level of dominance? Can they take what you see on this graphic here and start to spread it out to some other maps as well?
Yeah, and I think what was so good from Leviatán is something that we already knew was solid, and that's their game plan on this defensive side. The casters were talking a lot about it, but they're so willing to give space, allow themselves to intentionally play for those retakes, because they're so good at them. The utility on this Viper Harbor comp and the way that they get Taco back in so quickly to go for these flood retakes is so effective. MiBR never really had a solution to it, particularly on those B retakes.
Yeah, and even with the flood retakes, they had good solutions for the early round, like the bait setup in Art for Taco. They had to set up aggressive A main where they roll immediately to Art, and vice versa. They pick out of Art, they go right back to A main. They're just so proactive on the map. Aggressive B setups. All of those worked so well for Leviatán throughout this game.
And it kind of goes back to what you were talking about, Dash, where Taco didn't have an amazing game. It wasn't lights out, but he still just plays his role within the squad, within the ideas that they set up, right? He's dashing in, creating space in the retake, putting down a cloudburst, fighting past the utility. It doesn't matter if he gets a ton of kills or if he pops off with the operator, because the rest of his team is so good at trading behind him and winning out those rounds regardless.
Just goes back to that halftime conversation, right? We're talking about him being a role player, and we don't mean that as a pejorative. That is a compliment. He fills his role perfectly for the team. Now, if we flip to the other side of the matchup, though, and try to identify what's not working for MiBR, I think clearly there's a lot of things when you lose a map that dominantly that you can point at. Let's just start with an individual, and Heat is always going to be the first person I go to because he's the catalyst for so much action on that team.
It is very difficult, though, being in Heat's shoes right now in this Harbor Viper comp with their Sky. And I pointed out at halftime, the Sky util was coming out really early on some of these hits from way back long B, all the way by the entrance. And he was just left to dash into cloudbursts with no initiator util. It was very difficult for him entering the sites in that first half.
Yeah, and you see that stat 1-to-1 in first kills. You're like, that's not that bad. He went 50%. That's solid. That's what you'd expect. But it's a fact that he wasn't really in position to take a lot of those opening kills.
Right.
Normally, this team is make or break by Heat getting kills in the opening, giving them those opportunities to play off in the mid-round. Here, it felt like a lot of the team was getting shut down. Taco would find a gap and pick someone off. You didn't have that same level of performance from Heat that this team relies on.
Yeah, in a weird way, I'd be more okay with that 50% if it was 3-3, right? Just knowing that he took more, that he was in more of those first engagements.
First engagements he took last time that they played. Like,
right.
He's normally I think the highest entry load of anyone in the league.
And was this just Leviatán accurately figuring out like where he is on the map and avoiding him, or what? Like, why isn't he a part of so many of the first trades?
They just had such a good read on the things that MiBR wanted to do here. Like, from the Art read on Pistol to the retakes that were well coordinated that you pointed out, the repositions that they had with Taco, the stacks on B long were always on the right rounds, the Killjoy setups were on the right sides. Leviatán just honestly looked very prepared for everything MiBR was willing to do in this game.
And this is a pistol round, right? We talked about the fact that Leviatán went for a lot of similar things. This pistol round was no exception. Normally they'll go for like Art splits on their pistol round fighting in A or play heavy in mid. MiBR expected it. They went for a fight there, but Leviatán's trading was just better. And here you see some of the issues that were cropping up for MiBR. Once that ball started rolling, it felt like these players were kind of in a position where you lose the opening pick and then people just go for solo plays, try and find a way to fight back in. It feels like things get a little panicked after that initial bump gets hit.
Yeah, you watch Loud in those scenarios, like going back to the series we just watched, they get in those like 2-on-4s and the players are so calm. They know exactly how they want to use their last piece of utility. But just now in that series, yeah, it gets so scrappy. Everyone just goes, makes their play. Individual plays, not much utility is being used, hardly any synergy. And Leviatán won all those fights just now.
Yeah, they honestly, they cruised to victory there in map number 1. So we turn our attention to map number 2, and before we get into it, let's take a peek over someone's shoulder in the aim lab. A shoot around. Here's NZR warming up in the range.
Nazwar has been a player for this team who I think, again, is one of those members that kind of gets slept on. People don't talk about Nazwar. People don't talk about Mizzino that much. But those supportive players are the ones that matter for the structure that Leviatán has built up, right? It's those guys who are going in second, third, getting those trades and setting their team up in the late round to win so many of those situations that really matter to this Leviatán system.
I want to say Nazwar is actually way up there statistically so far in this split. He's like kind of close behind King, so he is very slept on in this initiator role. And in a strategic team, his util, if you were an initiator, is definitely going to be util you want to look at and study because it's all coordinated.
You know, I'm going to petition for an aim-lab shoot-around leaderboard at a certain point because most of the time when we watch over the shoulder, obviously I'm sitting here impressed, right? All these guys are hitting close to 90% when they're really like putting it, like trying to go for it. And I'm like, but I want to know who's the best.
Okay, I thought you were saying you could take him. I was like,
oh, no way. No way in hell, but that's what I'm saying. I'm like, it's all impressive to me, right? Like watching these guys and their mechanics. And so like there's a piece of me that wants to add that little bit of competition into even the aim lab shoot around. Who's gonna top the individual leaderboards?
How close do you think you could get to how high on that leaderboard could you be? Dead last?
I would be dead last. Absolutely, I would be dead last. And probably with like multiple tens of thousands of points still between me and whoever is 50th out of our starting roster. Sean is the person I would probably have some faith might be able to get himself into
below Dash.
There's no way. There's no way.
All right, we might have to test that on our own in between days when we have a shot. But here we go into the agent select for map number 2. Looking for a miracle out of MiBR here.
Yeah, we are. Both these teams played the Harbor Viper composition last time they went to Ascent. And for MiBR, I felt like it looked all right. But for Leviatán, they really struggled. It felt like in comparison to their Harbor Viper Pearl, which they play so incredibly well, in their last game on this map, they left so many gaps. They made very predictable plays. They tried to go through and push deep, and it felt disjointed. It was very unlike Leviatán. This is the map that you were talking about, which has been one of the woes for LEV.
Yeah, and the duelist role in particular on this map is something that can have a lot of value, right? He in this jet role, if Leviatán doesn't have, you know, their X's crossed, their I's dotted, all of that, he's gonna find picks, right, in front of this Harbor utility. And that's something that I thought Fury was able to do really well against Leviatán. They kind of embarrassed them on this map. If this happens again, that would really not look good for Leviatán heading into like the deeper stages of the split.
It's something we just saw Aspas do on this very same map to get Loud the victory when a couple of the members on the side of Sentinels were still trying to find pop-ups of their own.
Yeah, when we see the Harbor Viper versus Harbor Viper, we sometimes talk about the fact that like one team has to innovate, come up with new ideas, like Loud was doing. I don't think that's the case for Leviatán. They're the clear favorite. They showed it in map number 1. They don't have to do anything crazy here. They just have to fix some of the fundamental problems they were showing. And for MiBR, the pressure is squarely with them.
Well, here you go, ladies and gents. We're on to map number 2, Ascent. For Leviatán, they're looking to wrap it up quick. For MiBR, they're looking to clap back and extend this series. We're heading back out to our casters, Doug and Balla, to get us into the match.
Thank you so much, Dash Ball. I don't know about you. I'm really excited for Heineken 0.0 Icebox.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be one of the last times we see it. So Heineken 0.0 Icebox, it has been one of my favorites in the last couple of games that we saw in the last couple of weeks too.
Sure.
Especially after lock-in, this Harbor Viper's brought some life to it.
There has been a lot of innovation, as you mentioned the Harbor Viper. I think even the way that players are scaling up around the map has just shown a fresh look on Heineken 0.0 Icebox and what we're used to seeing.
And MiBR need a big response on this map. They had a massive win last week in the first map that they played right here against NRG. I think part of the reason for that game was some of the flowiness that they've been playing with, but also just a mastery of the Harbor Viper and how simple it is on this map, but a very weird strat going for an A split right off the bat.
This is weird. We've seen this a few times. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. It never works.
Oh, gosh.
It never works. Mizzino gets 2 to open things up. Shy's on the flank, and ZR gets RGL, and quickly is turned into a 3v1.
Yeah, that fast flank is something that you have to have somebody ready for. And they did, but unfortunately the 2 people who are at the front of the hit go down really fast. So the player who then was gonna watch the flank has to come join the hit so he can maybe get back into sight, and Spike was lost. So yeah, it never works.
Nope.
It's 0.0% of the time it works.
Nice, dude. I missed that, didn't I? That was a good opportunity. That does work 0.0% of the time.
And that's another pistol round conversion as well from Leviatán. So she just dropped something.
I dropped my pen. Sorry. I'm sure that was really loud. Apologies.
That's, I think, what, 2 out of 3 pistols so far. MiBR only won the second one on the
Eyes up.
first map. Actually, no, remember they were forcing, so they lost all pistols so far. Still more mid-price ones from MiBR. We just saw what happened in the first round. But they did break the alarm bot, so that's a little bit of something. There's only one player here, Doug, so they might be able to get a lot more space than you think. You're already expecting them to get the plant down, but King is in a very advanced position.
Pesky ropes. So tricky to deal with. Shock dart out from NZR to delay some of the push. The swing around is good for 2. Shy's timing, dude. Shy's timing has been immaculate. That's 2 rounds now where you think, all right, we took care of what was here. Nope, Shy has arrived.
Spike planted.
I feel a knife coming, I don't know why.
Yeah? It has been that kind of series, hasn't it?
Yeah. There were just people all around him. But, I mean, that was a good entry. Onto King right away. It's just the way that Leviatán swung there on screens is... You talked about the timing from Shy. He's following up directly on Nazar, who just got 2 kills as well. That's why I was laughing, because he's not even shooting at JCG. He just comes in and gets unfortunated. It's a new one, not accidented.
Unfortunated. We'll work that into the lexicon some more.
Oh, look. We've got an AI on the server, just running back and forth.
Molly Shark out from MiBR. Cool to deny the orb, but there's just no one there early on.
And it's not something that is, I mean, actually it is kind of important, given Mazzino's already 2 orbs away, given Nazar is also 2 orbs away. I'm not sure if that's been a major part of Leviatán's game plan on this map, though. And the desk was trying to touch on some of the deficiencies from Leviatán, given their loss on this map. But I don't know, I'm expecting Leviatán now with a lot more time to have worked with the Harbor Viper, which is not I mean, it's pretty new for them, given that they weren't running these comps at lock-in. To start to spread the prowess that we saw on Pearl to the rest of these maps.
Ooh, clean opener from Heat. Is that the first one?
He had 1 on Pearl, if I remember correctly.
Either way, maybe that's a start for MiBR. Maybe that's what they need. They gotta get Heat going. They gotta get him online. Okay, never mind. That was nothing but a sheriff on the other side of that.
The way that they're breaking up this site with the high tide is so interesting. Because they're really isolating this fight and also blocking off danger. So you just have to push so far. They haven't gotten Spike down yet.
And they're all like huddled right around each other. Taco's still up top. He gets plucked down.
Enemy remaining.
And Leviatán convert.
And that's actually uncommon for Leviatán. Their bonus round win rate is, I mean, bonus rounds in general are really difficult to convert because, like you saw, 2 Ferrets in the round. But it is among the lower side in America's League. That usually isn't a detriment, but when they're normally not converting and then they convert, again, it continues those doubts that I had for MiBR after, obviously, the Pearl map, but I think a lot of ways that you look at the series and how it goes is, okay, that was their map pick, you can kind of just ignore it, no matter whether it was a stomp or not.
Yeah, an Icebox, so it's a bit of a different story. Always good to check in with owner. Saw him there during that. We haven't seen a good owner chair shake in a while. He just grabs the armrest and is like trying to break the thing. We'll check in with him a little bit later. Maybe we'll get lucky.
Is that your gauge on how MiBR is doing in the game?
No, how Leviatán is doing, yeah. If owner's breaking the chair, then they're happy. He has good reason to be happy. Up big on Pearl early, but up on Icebox as well. As you were just saying, is MiBR's map picked.
They've got to wait for the site blocking utility to come up because of Taco's op right here, and he almost gets one too. They're walking close. This indicates that they might want to push through this wall, but no flash is going to make it hard.
Mazzino tried catching him slipping.
What a dart. Actually, from JZZ, spotting Shy and deep in sight. They get a very, very deep plant.
And there you see how oppressive these two walls can be.
This is an eco.
Taco hasn't gotten a clean shot with that op yet. It's all been an attempt to be fortunate, to be lucky. King's position given away by the turret. I mean, they've huddled in, and maybe this is where you see some of their game plan looking so different. Remember in the previous round, Leviatán were in there with them, right? They didn't give up the site because as you see now, it's so difficult to re-establish control when you've got the Viper wall, and you've got the Harbor wall, and you've got the Harbor Cascade, and you've got the Orb, and you've got everything you have to work around.
And that might be a key to victory here for MiBR, is just take it to them. Take that extra space that they give up with how successful their retakes have been.
We are not so easily beaten.
Which I think, by the way, on so far has been 75% of the rounds. That one's going to knock it down a little bit. But prior to that, Leviatán was just not losing retakes. And to give some context, the average retake rate is like the success rate for Leviatán is 33%.
Huh.
And that's already supposed to be good.
Yeah. We're gonna have a couple more shots at it in this half. Ooh, aggressive, pacey out from Taco. Heat wins another opener.
Important metrics here.
Yeah,
Continue to track for Heat.
Yeah, but I think the last time we saw him do that, they weren't able to convert off of that, right? So you find yourself in a position where you go, okay, we've got Heat, he gets an opener, check that box. You have numbers advantage early in the round, check that box as well. How do you convert, though? I think that's the key question.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I think they've gotten the opener in every single round so far, but they're still down 3-1, so. They have more tools to do exactly what they just did. In the sense that they have all five. He's so far advanced. Not only that, but he's tucked, hiding away from the player at belt. That is beautiful from King. Great positioning, and then on Hunter's Fury, it's a little low.
Not able to control the spray. NCR's Hunter's Fury does clean up a Parz, though. They have the Reckoning 2 for retake, which I imagine they're going to want to try to hold here.
Caution here.
But we'll see.
Placing swarm grenade.
30 seconds, still plenty of time for MiBR to be
left.
particular about their approach here.
On Pearl, you saw them try to push in after tapping the spike. They don't have that luxury here.
All right, they want to use the Reckoning. They want to take the fight. MiBR scattering.
Player standing.
RGL falls.
Oh, the stun.
He does too, yeah.
And you're again, they fail to convert. And this time it's because they gave so much space up. I mean, King played a very, very nice spot. Again, just past that point where he's not really getting cleared by the regular crosshair placement, but also he's away from the peak on top of belt.
I think too here, King, I mean, you're fortunate to get one, right? That's a free one. But for him to swing around, challenge JZZ the way he did,
yeah.
Given that JZZ had the high ground too, clean shot.
And it's interesting angle because both of the players are not used to taking a fight like that.
Right.
I mean, those are not positions you're normally fighting in unless you're playing in a DM lobby against people who have their sound at max volume. Yeah, there's really no chair breaking.
It's unfortunate, really. You know, maybe it's a testament to the quality of the chair. Yeah, Secretlab just does it different, guys.
(4-1). Leviatán looked to be converting again on a massive lead very early. Remember, it was defense side for them on Pearl 2. That first half on Pro went 10-2.
Nail biter.
Yeah, I was on the edge of my seat.
I just think it was so unexpected, right? Like, I don't think anyone expected MiBR to look this way leading into the series, given how Leviatán have looked, challengeable at times, but they've just been so far ahead of MiBR.
Yeah, it's definitely hot and cold for this team. Last week against NRG, everybody was starting to praise them. Say how, oh my goodness, the lock-in result was definitely a fluke. But you see, there might definitely be two sides, two faces to this team.
I suggest you move.
Reckoning used. Suggestion heeded as Taco takes a step back. Heat pushing forward, waiting for any challenge. Two angles, and they're difficult to hold. But Heat now pushing forward. RJ with the plan. Heat wants to go fast. He does. He gets a kill on NZR. How the heck do you counter that, bro? I mean, what do? You're not expecting that.
And they can't push forward right now. That lockdown's so advanced. It's taking so much time off the clock. This defuse is going to be tough, even with the weaponry advantage. King has ult. He might end up investing that.
Do they have any mollies or anything like that? FRZ has an alarm bot that hasn't been used. There's some of the utility. Mazzino on the tap. Hit dropped.
Oh, they're going to think they're in it. They're sticking! Hello! Shoot!
Do something.
One enemy remaining.
Or don't. I'm going to let you break that one down, man. That's your job.
I mean, I think they definitely want to try to break the Viper Spit. That's why they're trying to go on that flank, but there's nobody to pressure the spike. Nobody's shooting top nest. And I mean, it was a good pit. It made it really tough to be able to see what was going on top of that. You really don't have position on where they're defusing because they could be behind either wall up in nest there. That one is super tough. And I think as well, another 5v4 loss. Heat got that opener with the right click, jumping into 4 people spamming.
On NCR, yeah, you're right.
I mean, the score is 5-1. But the openers are 5-1 for MiBR right now.
Conversion rates go crazy, bro.
Scanning ahead.
Maybe the problem is in their openers.
Yeah, so you want them to stop getting first kills.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, genius.
You gotta try something different, man. You gotta try something different. Cheeky little window here for FRZ.
Placing swarm grenade out.
I thought he was going to be just outside of the range of the turret.
Alarm bot down.
And he doesn't even get the alarm bot too, so pivoting is going to be less attractive without that tool.
Yeah. JZZ on the shocks. Again, FRZ still posted up in kitchen, but they should have a
30
really good
seconds
idea where he is. You see the pings on the minimap. They still have...
King is in a good spot too to receive him. Eventually, but he's making noise right now.
Yeah, he's not being quiet about it.
Oh gosh.
But he knows. He doesn't care. Ooh.
They're on the site right now though.
Another kill going in favor of MiBR. But shy on the equalizer. Number still in favor of the attacking side as the flank ticks away. Oh gosh. Okay. Heat saves that situation and gets MiBR to 2. Did they get the opener that round?
No, I don't think they did. They did, actually. I don't remember who.
Either way, MiBR with some tools here. They have the Hunter's Fury and they have the Viper Spit. They have succeeded in getting the spike down, and they've got some tools here to, if you are going to try to counter against Leviatán's post plant, retake percentages, you've got the tools for it here.
You've seen Muras have ideas even in that last round to try to push aggressively, so you can tell that's definitely what Bazooka has been talking to them in that timeout about. However, in that round, you don't want to do it because of how FRZ was positioned deep in kitchen, so More ideas here again. The abilities are incentivizing, and the situation is incentivizing them for not taking. What? He's up top yellow. And he finds the timing between the cascade. That is unlucky.
Unlucky.
But they didn't get the first kill.
And the Hunter Shuri is now not available for post plant. Heat is not available for post plant.
enemy
Neither is
remaining.
F4Z. They're just not going to get post
Spike
plant.
down A.
The makings of a flawless round are afoot. Cursed it for just a moment. Yeah, I did. Unlucky. 6-2 for Leviatán, though.
I mean, the makings of the exact same half we saw
Yeah.
in Pearl. They just reset the economy there for MiBR too. No loss bonus accrued quite yet. Here's the shot. He was just top yellow. Surprised he didn't see him cross in the first place on that angle, but okay.
All targets cleared.
That timing is insane for Taco.
Cursed it for just a moment.
I feel like I've heard that somewhere before.
I'm in a time loop.
Light or buy for MiBR. You've got a Spectre, you've got a Frenzy. That's now the op shot. Going a bit wide, but detected. For MiBR, did they continue to push into that? The drone to push him off, and an opener for Heat.
On a Taco too, and he's on the warpath there. Shy's got the ult. He wants to use it, but needs to wait for his teammates to group up.
Remember the timing here from Shy and how good he's been in it. Okay,
Oh, he's hit
counter.
hard.
Yes, he is. But it stays up
Oh,
now
no,
here. Oh no.
He killed his teammate.
That's fine. They're better when numbers are down.
They're way out of the pit. They didn't get the spike down, which is actually good in this case. Because now they have room to go back to working picks.
Yeah, I guess.
But
Dude,
do
how
they
you
really
reset
want to
from-
come back in here?
I mean, you have the benefit of knowing that they don't have the op anymore. So you're not walking into that.
Thirty seconds left.
Perhaps with the cutting of noise, you introduce a little bit of doubt onto the defensive side, where the hit's gonna end up. FRC is just so weak, bro. 3 HP.
One enemy remaining.
And NZR with 2
Spike
of them.
down A.
And death. Op gonna get carried over for Leviatán. They find themselves up 7-2.
And actually, MiBR forced into that too. So the economic woes continue. One thing there is, in that reset situation that was really weird after the lockdown where they still had the spike and they had the option to pivot, Leviatán made a good read by just having Shy post up around kitchen, keep his util up. And something that happens in those moments where there's 50 seconds left and you're forced to pivot is a lot of times, especially with MiBR, they're gonna make a play and walk up to, break the alarm bot, break the turret, something like that. And because that didn't happen, nobody rotated and they continued to cycle util on that A site.
Cascade up towards long. Heat with the frenzy. And another tough situation for MiBR.
They went for it. 2 tough shots. Not quite connecting this. Ooh. Xeno low there. Mirius takes him out with 1 tap to the body.
I have the spike.
And it's interesting too. That's all because he was trying to support Taco Leah. Takes damage from that. And you do want to rotate them more towards the center of the map to avoid as much spam as possible while still keeping your util up.
They're burning the clock. Being real intentional about how they want to go about this. JCC just got to start back up. I think between that and the Viper gas for Miris, they are going to try to scale up to B.
Again, a deep plant,
30 seconds left.
which doesn't allow them to play super good post plant. Hunter's Fury as well. He knows he got off, so he's waiting for the second tap.
Yeah.
That just bought so much time. Stop switching your weapon.
Spike planted.
Makes you nervous.
Remaining.
Taka uses blades, but it's the op that gets a kill on the Heat. And that's another round for Leviatán.
Aches to 2 is brutal. on Icebox. Just brutal.
Yeah, it's not great.
And remember, MiBR won on Icebox last weekend against NRG, who was a very, very proficient Icebox team. And they're not up to date on the meta. They're still running their old comp with a Flash in it, with a Sage in it, that sort of thing. But this doesn't just feel like, okay, running back up into the meta. This feels like just an off day, honestly.
I think we're seeing some of what we thought about MiBR before the season started, and I think over the first couple of weeks they started to challenge those thoughts. But it really felt like, at least to me, Paula, it felt like MiBR lived and died by Heat's performance. Right? If Heat was on one, he's unstoppable. MiBR can beat anybody.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was definitely an idea, especially coming out from off-season into lock-in and after lock-in too. But I think the first few weeks convinced me that that wasn't the case.
Right, exactly. But it just feels like we're almost going back to it, in a sense. You think it's not that simple?
I mean, I think, yeah, I think it's a little bit more deeply rooted than that. Not to say that this issue is going to show up again or anything like that, but
sure.
I think this is just an off week for many people, not just he, is I think my point. I think Heat has been major talking point for this team. He's been the star for the team. And I think in the last couple of weeks, he wasn't having insane star performances. It was the rest of his team. But I think you're right in the sense that him having a day where he's off entirely makes it a lot harder for the rest of his team to work.
Or he's cooled off.
No, I was not going to use those words, actually.
Exchange of utility towards A early on. And MiBR creeping their way up. You got a turret to cover the flank. The harbor wall goes down. And that should be the cue to go, but you don't have any Viper util anymore.
It feels like Taco's going for flicks every shot on purpose.
Yeah. Just trying to play the game on hard mode, I guess.
It's using this as an aim training session.
Here.
That Reckoning is gonna cause some problems. It is gonna wreak some havoc, and now they have the lockdown they're gonna have to navigate.
Here.
But this is where Leviatán thrive, man. It's in these retakes. So yeah, you wait this out, sure. You're comfortable to give that space up. And yeah, maybe the time is a little bit tighter than you'd like, but they are no strangers to this situation. Already 1 for 1, and when you're down in numbers, that does not work. Quickly making way with what MiBR had left. Leviatán gets to 9.
And we're getting back up to that high retake percentage. And this is looking even more dire than the situation
Last round in the
you
half.
painted for us on Pearl. In the sense that, like, literally nothing is going their way. They're not getting, it's not getting down to close situations. Most of the time, it's still 4vx.
Yep.
When Leviatán ends up winning the round.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't think it could get much worse, but here we are. MiBR still with a shot to make this a 9-3 half, though. They've got blades for Heat. So maybe that's the tool. That was the push off King, was 1 point away from having his Viper fit.
I mean, they don't even need it, though.
Yeah.
Especially given that there's not many big ults on the side of MiBR either.
Here.
That they need to respond with. And there's just no threats here. There's no reason for Leviatán to make any wild moves.
Get out of my way.
Blades for Heat. It's a game of chicken, and Heat's the first to go. Taco trying to run away. He got tagged, but he stays alive. And FRZ does not.
And the one fight you needed to win there on the map at the current time, because they were giving up this A site.
Spike planted.
Spike down, retake simulator one more time.
And also note how fast Mazzino went into that fight too. He needed to clear that up because the one round that they won was because of a threat like that.
Spike ticking away, members of Leviatán waiting for their cue, and that's what it is. The Cascade Heat waiting on the other side, instantly dropped with 37 HP, didn't have very much to fight with at all. Another transfer out onto Shy, and it just leaves RGL alone with 5 HP. Time is on his side. and he's gotten it down to a 1v2, but Mazzino's on the hold. He's got a challenge, he's got to swing, he's got to go now, and he cannot. Another 10-2 half for Leviatán.
Mentioned the time loop. I think we're stuck in it.
Yeah. It's not just in what we're hearing either, and what we're seeing, everything. Let's take a look at that one more time, shall we? Speaking of time loops.
This was 6 out of 8 retakes for Leviatán. A big success for them so far in this league, and it just continues.
Another comfortable lead at half for Leviatán. I have good news for you, Bala. Let's move away from the game for just a moment. Earlier, we sat down with Leviatán's king, and we got his thoughts on the high expectations everyone, including himself, are putting on Leviatán. Let's take a listen.
We've been dealing with that pressure. It's hard to show your how you're playing when everyone is expecting so much from you. So yeah, again, this match was like the middle point to if we were going to be on a good run, the split, or if it was going to be a downhill. You know, if it was going to be like way harder or not. I think we broke that.
Lots of expectations on the Latin American squad, and well, for good reason. Leading into the season, we thought they were the real deal. We thought they were legit, and while they haven't looked perfect from top to bottom, they are punching up with the best that Americas has to offer.
Yeah, I mean, there's only one team who's undefeated, and Leviatán still hasn't yet to play them. I think for the most part, though, they're where we expected. They're the team that looks really, really phenomenal. That win against NRG, solid. I think the only blemish is like on Icebox against Furia, those types of things, that Ascent series against Furia. Part of the thing that the desk was talking about was how their map pool appears to be shrinking a little bit, and hopefully this alleviates some concerns for both the team and the viewers. But I don't know if it's going to change the needle that much in terms of where people are ranking Leviatán, in terms of the chances they're giving them to go to Tokyo and beyond, given the MiBR that's showing up right now on stage.
Yeah, it's really tough to extrapolate much of anything out of that. Ever pivotal pistol for MiBR. If there's any shred of hope at getting into this thing, you imagine it has to start here.
Oh, for sure. I've continued to hit on the fact that the pistol win rate for MiBR is not the greatest, and if they needed one advantage that they could possibly get that's been different for them so far in the season, it had to be this against a team as formidable as Leviatán.
That's a heavy push on the middle of the map from MiBR. And you wonder here if they understand, given that there's literally nobody on the site.
I mean, this is going to be a turret here.
Yeah, but you don't expect, I mean, there's nobody to
They're going to come back into this and fight all together.
Oh, we're in for a good one. We're in for perhaps a slugfest. I hope a slugfest. But it's another opener. It's another, okay. No slugfest.
It's a slugfest in the sense that MiBR are looking like slugs.
11 for Leviatán. Cool idea from MiBR. I mean, it's difficult to expect more than one on the other side of the turret. But yeah.
It's just too obvious what's going on in that situation. I mean, you called it. There's nobody on site. So they know where the fights are going to come, especially after the turret gets spotted. So, I mean, again, tough to read into. Very tough. This is probably going to be the most one-sided series we have in Americas so far. And we've played 3 weeks, which is quite a lot.
Mm-hmm. Leviatán not moving very much at all. Perhaps expecting some of the same aggression that we saw from MiBR in the previous round. There is a bit of investment here. I mean, you don't really have a choice otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, exactly what happened on Pearl, right?
Yeah.
Just double force. This time a lot less Guardians, which is interesting from MiBR, but I think it's also, I didn't get that many kills on the pistol.
Mm-mm.
It's a lot tougher to invest up.
See those cascades? Look at both used to section off both sides, and they just wait it out. And RGL falls. Can they hold anything else back? I mean, all they have left is a couple of guns.
And it's so tough to play against the Viper wall and the high tide coming in from the attack here because it sections off the site in a way that you really don't know what's about to happen.
Yeah.
You have no information of, are they going to push this wall or what? They did reposition the Viper orb though, a little deeper now.
Taco with the spam on the heat. Taco with the shots on Miriz.
Dash up draft.
Go get him.
That sucks.
Took a little bit longer, but we got there anyway. Leviatán at 12.
Only 6 rounds in the series for MiBR too. And they have to force again. And once again, it's only one Guardian. I mean, their eco looks even worse than the last series. Almost. It's impossible for it to look a lot worse than the last round, but somehow I have less faith. It's with the Marshal, with the Sheriff. At least they have full armor, but I mean, we've seen there's 2 Bulldogs. There's 2 Bulldogs and 2 Spectres. So the full armor actually does matter a little bit here.
Toxin screen down. Poison's off.
Harbor wall cutting across from RGL. The spike making its way up.
That's
FRZ
done.
gets opener on the king. So he tried finding some cheeky space to occupy.
That sort of thing right there is definitely. I was gonna make a point about how you can't fall asleep,
Poison orb
but
emitting.
12 to 2.
Blocking fire.
Xeno
weird
playing
stuff.
outside of the cove. I like this. Innovation. Taco trying to dash away. Down to 49 HP as he's getting peppered. Trying to retreat to safety. Mazzino on the swing. It's a bold one. It's a confident one. But he falls.
Gone.
5 HP and 4 HP right now.
I mean, they've got it in bunches, right?
Last player standing.
Run!
Run away! Keep the gun!
Okay. Same exact situation. They lose the force that they go after the pistol, but they somehow win the next one because of Leviathan's bonus weaponry.
But Bala, I feel different about this one.
Do you?
I feel different about this
What
one.
feels different about this one?
I think MiBR, they have guns and they have armor here, and I feel it, man. I can feel it.
Help.
I ever tell you the story about the 312 comeback on Icebox?
No, I don't want to hear it.
I'm not telling you any more stories, man. Reckon used dash shot onto the site,
My ult's ready.
and you're using info off of that ult to get the kill on Amiri. Taco looking for more. I don't feel anything anymore.
My ult is ready.
Alarm bot out.
I haven't felt anything this entire series.
4v3. MiBR stuck in a post plant position.
Toxin screen down.
Caution here.
They're gonna have to retake this, and they're spread a bit thin. They're also expecting heat there.
Caution here.
Yeah, you can see the pings, you can hear the calls. FRZ on the tap. Look at the discipline out from Leviatán. They don't show a single thing. And now Heat's left alone in a 1v4.
Scanning.
Or he's gotten one for his troubles. But at this point, just trying to inflate the BLR stats. Get a couple more kills. But a brutal shellacking
win.
from Leviatán. 13-3 and a 2-0 series win. And what you said, like you said it earlier, Ball, this very well may be the most one-sided affair we've had in the 3 weeks we've played.
Yeah, this entire Americas League. And in a very unexciting fashion, unfortunately, the record that Brazil had intra-regionally, 8-0 so far in Americas, goes down here to Leviatán. They're South American brethren. And there's definitely a lot to talk about there with the squad, with Bazooka for MiBR, because, I mean, literally, you can see it on stage. They're dejected for a reason there.
Yeah.
They should have been able to challenge a little bit, given what we've seen so far in this league.
I mean, everything went wrong.
One enemy remaining.
Every single aspect of the game went wrong for MiBR.
But those are always, it's always the toughest too when I can't point to anything specific. I think there were still, I mean, a lot of times on Pearl, maybe they started going a little too hard on the B-long pressure. But for the most part, like obviously they got to clean up their post plants, but what about their post plants is going wrong?
Everything. Here, ask me another one. Ask me about another.
What about their approaches to the sites are going wrong?
Everything.
No. That's not how this works. That's not how this works. But a great series from Leviatán. I mean, they come out looking, again, like the best team on Pearl.
Yep.
And then they also clean up what a lot of people posited as a gap in their map pool on Icebox.
All smiles and for good reason. As it honestly just didn't feel like a fair fight for the entirety of the series. We thought, you know, perhaps you get into a second map, you get into a first half, and you reset. Because the truth is, when you lose a map as hard as they did on map 1, you go, I mean, you just reset, right? Like, forget about it.
Yeah.
There's just nothing that we can really do about that. Let's refocus and we'll be okay. But that just never came.
Yeah. And there was never a moment of, you know, regrouping or anything like that. Even during the timeouts, you expect the team is going to be able to like break through whatever mental block they're having in the game currently, but it just never came.
Yeah.
And those are the issues we were talking about with this team potentially, especially given they crumbled in front of their home crowd in lock-in. Those are the stories that you were talking about for this team, for MiBR before this.
Yep. A dominant performance, a beating, a shellacking, whatever you want to call it, as Leviatán just systematically dismantle MiBR from top to bottom. We're going to throw it to a break. And when we come back, the deaths will break down. The series...
They'll break down.
They'll also... They may break down. We also have a Verizon post-match interview with King. Don't miss it. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Verizon post-match interview. I'm down here with King, the IGL of Leviatán, who has just, I'm not going to talk around it. You absolutely destroyed MiBR there. It was not close. How did you fix up your icebox so quickly after that bad loss to Furia?
Bueno, nuestro Icebox, el problema nunca fue que no lo supiéramos jugar, sino que estábamos entrenando mal y no nos sentíamos muy confiados como en ese mapa. Y nada, esta semana le dimos duro al mapa y perfeccionamos todos los movimientos y nada, salió como esperábamos que saliera.
On Icebox, the problem, it was never that we didn't know how to play it. It was more than anything that we didn't have good trainings on that week, good scrims that week. And so we just worked on fixing that and fixing our mistakes for it.
Now, talking about scrims, you used to be scrim partners with MiBR back when you were both, hanging out in South America, playing those battles against each other. Does that change how you approach the game against the team that you're somewhat familiar with, or have both squads changed a lot since then?
Principalmente no. Contra MiBR jugamos mucho, pero es mucho tiempo. Creo que un lapso de 2 meses que no jugamos contra ellos, entonces no me acuerdo absolutamente nada de lo que hacían y simplemente hicimos nuestro juego y salió todo a la perfección.
As of right now, it doesn't really change too much. It's been a long time. It's been about 2 months since they last saw each other when they were scrimming each other back in Brazil. So it was more than anything, he didn't remember anything about them and it was just a new game.
Right. So we also saw an interview with you earlier on after, I believe, the Sentinels game where you talked about the fact that it was the midpoint of the split. There was a chance that things could go up or down from there. What was your mentality like after those kind of games, and what are you feeling now, having just crushed an opponent?
Bueno, obviamente feliz con el performance del equipo y nada, mucha tranquilidad por el resultado y esperemos que se repita en el siguiente partido.
Just very happy with the team performance and just hoping that it can continue to be replicated for the next matches.
I mean, the next matches are interesting.
Yeah.
There is a really close battle at the moment for the top of VCT Americas. You lost that battle to be the undefeated team. You got beaten by Furia. But what does it take for a squad like yours to be on top? What's the difference between how you're playing now and how you want to be playing in order to make it to Tokyo, win the big events?
Más que nada, superar esa presión que siempre nos ha estado detrás nuestro. Creo que siempre hemos sido un equipo fuerte, pero nos caemos en la mentalidad. Y nada, creo que hemos ganado mucha experiencia. Este torneo también nos está ayudando con eso. Y esperemos que podamos estar en nuestro peak una vez terminado el split y playoffs.
More than anything is all about dealing with the pressure. We've always been a really good team, but it's more than anything making sure that the mental is at the same level. And with this practice, the experience that we're getting is also something that we had before, but it's also helping us now so we can push forward.
Super Week is tough because you have 2 opponents to prep for. Your next opponent, 100 Thieves. How do you see them? Are you expecting it to be an easy game? Are you expecting it to be a difficult matchup? Well, what's your feeling heading into this?
Nunca es un partido fácil. Nunca vamos a subestimar a nadie. Para nosotros el rival que tengamos enfrente lo vamos a ver como el oponente más fuerte. Y nada, siempre dar el máximo de nosotros y que gane el mejor VALORANT.
It's never just overconfidence. It's always seeing the opponent as it is and as the toughest opponent that you have to face next, and just dealing with it and just seeing who's going to play the best Valorant.
Okay, a very polite answer, but also a good one to keep your mentality in check and take the pressure off you. I can understand that. Thank you, King. Appreciate the interview. Appreciate the demonstration of excellence that you showed us here today as well. And we'll have Dash and the rest of the squad on the desk break it all down.
Thank you so much, Sideshow. What a lovely interview. Great perspective directly from King himself. I love the question, though, about what it's going to take to go from what we just saw to dominating the league and potentially international. I'm like, how much more dominant you want them to get, Sideshow? They literally just smacked their opponents twice in a row.
Yeah, I mean, that game, it didn't seem like there were many faults for Leviatán. They just played to their game plan. Okay, we give them sight, we play our retakes, we win them 9 times out of 10. It was incredible.
Yeah, you want to know how dominant this series was? MiBR got 7 rounds. They lost all 4 pistols, and 4 of those 7 rounds were the bonus rounds.
Oh my God.
They won all of the bonus rounds. So they won 3 other rounds throughout an entire series. This was one of the most incredible performances I think I've seen in all of VCT, in all of the regions. Just, they laid the smackdown on MiBR. This was a 2-1 team before today.
Yeah, and this is by and far the biggest stomp that we have seen thus far. And it was these retakes, as I feel like we've talked about so many times for Leviatán. This team is just so confident in their coordination between each other that, okay, we can give you a little bit of space to push, but we'll instantly storm back in with great utility, fight forward with the Harbor Viper. And it's such an improvement from last time they played this map. It really felt like, sure, it was against MiBR. It was against a team that they were dominant against on Pro, but they translated that onto Icebox. And before that was something we were kind of questioning if they would be able to do after their failures on that map previous.
It's also one of those upticks in performance and just generally a level of dominance that kind of makes it hard to evaluate the gameplay itself, right? Because you're left there going like, are they just playing so smoothly? Do they have all the reads? Do they have all the prep to make it this easy? Or should we be putting a critical eye towards MiBR? Like, are they dropping the ball and giving a gift over to Leviatán? Or, like, where's the balance between those two extremes?
I'm sure it's a little bit of both, right? There's no way MiBR should get blown out like this.
Right.
But this was a super important performance for Leviatán heading into the Super Week. They have 2 matches this week. We were all questioning their map pool and how they would fare coming into this week against MiBR. People were high on the MiBR stonks, and they just shut them down. Like, they just made me back into a believer again. And I was silly for
We're a fickle desk.
Yeah.
We will change our allegiances in a moment's notice.
Yeah, 1 win, that's enough for me. Leviatán, best team in the world.
Sure.
I've seen everything I need to. But for MiBR, I think some of the issues that we were seeing were kind of around the fact that they had these initial ideas. It was clear at moments maybe they had a little bit of preparation, but once Lev started winning those retakes, once the ball got rolling, it didn't feel like they ever had an adaptation, a new idea. They managed to get the spike down. You try and fight sometimes in your post plant. You try and play it off. None of that was ever working, and it eventually got to a point where it just felt like they were boomed, honestly, and the mental just crumbled.
Yeah, as well, while we spent a majority of the day talking about 4 of the 5 players on Leviatán, one of the ones we didn't talk about very much is one that you called out at the end of map 1, Sean, continued to perform here in the second map as well. That's Shy. Got to give a nod to somebody who's stepping up in a big way at the right times.
Yeah, we hardly ever mention Shy's name on the desk because he's just like his name suggests. He's a quiet support player on this team, right? They all do their roles on the team, even someone like Taco. But the Killjoy on the team particularly isn't really making a lot of plays for this team.
Right.
He just does what's asked of him. And today, he did everything. He got all these multi-frags in the mid-rounds. It's not like he's getting first bloods or anything like that, but he's having a lot of impact when people come his way.
Yeah, as a site anchor, this guy is really consistent of getting 1 or 2 kills, spending enough time for it to stall out for his teammates to rotate on over and help him out. On the attacking side, he's not as flashy as some of the other lurk players. He's not going to have as many big pop-offs as, say, a player like Les, but he's still going to consistently find that value in the late round, whether it's finding a lurk timing, just using the utility. Shy is consistently good. It's natural. And that's in a way kind of surprising because last year he was an initiator player. This whole Sentinel role is still fairly new to him. So the fact that he's just kind of like quietly going on and performing great in every match is impressive.
In observation, more than an emphatic statement, but this is now the second player within the day alone on Leviatán that we have kind of identified as a role player, right? Like seamlessly fitting their role. And I'm starting to wonder if that's going to become kind of slowly the identity of this team overall is, right, that they don't necessarily have this one defining leading star who's going to make the game about them, like we've talked about a player like Aspas, but instead they are just 5 players who seem to be perfectly suited for exactly what their job is on the agents that they're playing.
I honestly think that already is the identity for Leviatán. They're a team that is just so well coordinated, where everyone is really good, where not one player is always going to stand out to you and look incredible, because they're just all so consistently good. They play into owner system well. The ideas are solid. The coordination is good. Leviatán is just a fundamentally sound team.
Well, they made quick work of MiBR, and that's going to bring our first Super Week day to a close. So let's check out the standing and see where our teams land. It is still that undefeated Loud up top of the table, being chased by the rest of the pack. Leviatán creating a little bit of separation in the standings, though, now at 3-1, while MiBR will slip with the 2-2 scoreline that they have. Everyone else still yet to play, of course, when it comes to this weekend, and there are 2 matches for each of our teams to play. Super Week continues tomorrow with 2 more matches. We've got 100 Thieves versus Crew coming up. We got Evil Geniuses versus Furia coming up. I mean, Crew, of course, still hunting for their first win, which to me is just like heart-wrenching because in a number of ways, and maybe I'll make this case tomorrow on the show, a little teaser for some of the conversations we might have, I would almost venture to say that Crew is not our worst team while they are sitting in 10th place. Now I'm going to go home and I'm going to delve into my supply of hopium and copium, and then I'll come back and I'll make the case for that tomorrow. But as well, we have to talk about Evil Geniuses, who found their first win last week and did it in incredible fashion with a substitution of all things Demon 1 coming in.
And the Gecko, too. Demon 1 played 3 agents on all 3 maps. It was insane. But this week,
the subs, man. We got Marv today. We have Demon 1. Like, what's going on with the bench players?
I have no idea what's going on in our region right now. I have no idea. How does MiBR have that performance? I'm barely holding it together right now.
I wonder what would happen if you just make a roster with the 6th player of every America's team.
Don't get some ideas. Yeah. Hey,
wild,
you got a couple CEOs are currently like, well, it's not a bad idea. Maybe he's got a good idea. Maybe time to expand the league to an 11th team. Sean will be the coach, as we decided earlier today.
Congratulations.
All right, well, there you have it, everybody. That's day 1 of Super Week. We're not going to belabor it because we got 4 more days of action coming your way. I want to thank you all for watching. Here's your Prime Gaming post-day highlights. And until tomorrow, stay healthy, stay safe, and be good to each other, all right? Good night, everybody. Today, we kick off 5 days of crucial matches that will set the stage for the rest of the year. It's a battle between former teammates, Loud versus Sentinels. One of our teams here looking to remain undefeated and atop the table, while Sentinels trying to recover from what has been a rough start to the split.
Pushing forwards, in and out. Bit of a spray transfer. Coverage is there. Spike needs to go down, and it does. High tide in their faces as well. Still, Loud could still be favored because they have not given up this space. Pushed up through, 4 kills for Kawazine. And now it's down to Sassy. One time still, what a shot to be found away! Sassy!
Nice! Let's fucking go, man.
Massive beginning, massive upset. They take map 1. Moving forwards and, well, complete patience at work, and it's less. This is his playground. See the dart lighting them all up, but Sassy, what more can he find? 1 kill down. Finds a second. Left alone. It's a 1v2. Oh my goodness! And he knows where Aspas is! Unbelievable! He's given a freebie, but he is instantly traded. Aspas alone into the back, right into the side. It's all down to Sassy. Moving forwards, updraft the move, but it is short. He does it. And that's 13-11. Map number 3 is on the cards. This is where it could get dangerous, but no. 1 player left is Pancada at the back, and he's hunting for something. The right click's there. Play is weak enough, but not another kill found. It's Loud. Quick shot. Still Aspas is alive. In the action with the knives, and 2 years as well, anchoring it down. Being chunked down all the way through. Kawazine spamming it through. Into the grinder. Loud. They win it.
They convert, get to 13, but my oh my were they pushed.
It's our second bout of the day, MiBR versus Leviatán. 2-1 teams looking to create some separation in the standings and cement themselves in their position up top the table and the chase for Loud.
Spike ticking away, Shy on the swing, spots 1, the second, the third, lands the transfer, lands the spray, and lands another round for Leviatán. Now with the Spectre, and he still finds value.
They've got height on him too. Somebody's gonna jump in. That is ridiculous.
The kills are trying to go a couple which way, but FRZ with the Sheriff has gotten it to 1. The kills all fall through for Leviatán anyway. 13-4 in favor of Leviatán, and yeah, there were a couple of rounds that were extended, but the outcome almost secured at halftime.
He's so far advanced. Not only that, but he's tucked, hiding away from the player at belt. That is beautiful from King. They're sticking. Hello, shoot!
Do something. I'm gonna let you break that one down, man.
Go a little deeper now.
Taco with the spam on the Heat. Taco with the shots on Muriz. But a brutal shellacking from Leviatán. 13-3 and a 2-0 series win. This very well may be the most one-sided affair we've had in the 3 weeks we've played.
Came through with it again. They know that I got spirit with a pen.